Hey, it's a new world, gotta adapt to it. Innovation, information, more than the average. Rushing, please ignore the interruptions, cause this is Digital Discussions.
I'm so excited to have Jayson Siano on the Party on the Profits podcast. We talk about partying, we talk about profits, we talk about business and real estate. So tell me, Jay, who are you? What do you do? And what are you best known for in your pursuit of happiness and success?
Well, first, I am so happy to be here. It's like something that I've always envisioned doing, kind of like, finally making it onto the big stage here, Aviva. I'm super excited to be here. Because I love your vibe and personality, and it's rare to come across in commercial real estate. So I'll start there. Who am I? I am a normal individual that works extremely hard to innovate and have a positive impact on the commercial real estate industry. I wouldn't say that I'm more talented than everybody else. I would just say that I work harder than the majority of the folks that I know, and my persistence is finally starting to pay off. Over the last 20 years, I'd say about 5 years ago, I decided that I was just going to be myself in every area of my life, as opposed to trying to pretend that I like golf, and thought that that would actually land better with potentially establishing success in my industry. I just decided to go all in on myself, and fortunately, it's resonated really well with people out there.
I love it. I have contemplated picking up golf. It doesn't seem like it would work for me. So,
by the way, no disrespect to golf. I'm just saying, like, I felt like when I started in commercial real estate 20 years ago, like I had to look a certain way. I had to act a certain way. I had to be perceived a certain way in order to be taken seriously. So I always dressed, like overdressed, and was, truly uncomfortable in like this persona that I was putting on.
So tell me about your history in commercial real estate. I have gathered that, I've read about you, that you've worked in more traditional shops and now have blossomed into a less traditional figure. Can you tell me about that experience?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I grew up in the more traditional way of obviously landing accounts and being really good at my trade. So I'm actually a rare breed that understands the old way and has kind of discovered and helped create the new way. So I kind of live at the intersection of commercial real estate and digital marketing. And, it's very different than a younger person who hasn't been in the business as long as me, or hasn't represented, big name brands and worked with the founders of Chipotle and, many other interesting and exciting brands. One that was actually started in Denver, so pretty cool for you as well. I feel like as a result of that, since I'm a 44-year-old person that actually acts like I'm 24, I kind of am able to, resonate with folks in all different sides of the business that are all different ages, shapes, and sizes. But for me, the evolution of just kind of like being myself again and being able to, just operate the way that I think is best suited for myself and the people around me to be successful in the industry. I started at a boutique firm in 2001. I realized that the people at the company were around and basically alive, in the industry longer than I was alive at the time, right? So I was about 24 years old when I was just starting out in commercial real estate. I had a digital marketing background in fashion and DJ background previous to that, which is probably not that surprising if you know me now. And I learned how to be a really good retail real estate broker at a very traditional boutique retail firm that that kind of showed me the way and also afforded me the opportunity to pitch my first big national account, which was Starbucks Coffee in 2003, who I still represent exclusively today.
Never heard of them, but seems really, no, just kidding. That's very cool. Love it.
So yeah, so that's kind of like how I got started. In those 5 years, I actually started to study. The first 6 months I spent on the road in my market, learning every single shopping center, because I realized I didn't have much value to add to folks. So I still have my index cards of every shopping center in my market. And if you pick one here, you'll see that the front is kind of the
Wow.
description, the real estate location, the leasing agents, the owners, and the back is the actual shopping center that I would draw out while sitting in the parking lot from a bird's eye view. And I studied every single grocery anchored and power center in my market. And, as a result of that, never forgot any of those properties. So that was kind of the secret to my success at the beginning. And I didn't take the shortcut. I just, I went all in on it and realized that the only way I could potentially be good at this long term was to understand my market, learn as much about the things that I, was going to be in some way selling in the future. That afforded me the opportunity to become the top producer at the company in about 4 years' time. And I decided that I probably shouldn't be the top producer at a company if I'm under the age of 30. And that led to my next chapter.
Okay, this is just a random question. What percent in your note card do you think still own those properties, are the same owners, or in the
that's cool.
family?
Yeah, so what a great question. In the market that I started in, which is Long Island, New York, there's a obscene amount of families that own large shopping centers, right? So actually, Kimco is based in Long Island, and so Kimco, Milton Cooper is one of the co-founders of Kimco, and they're based in our backyard. My business partner's family they own 9 million square feet of shopping centers on Long Island specifically. So it's fairly commonplace, and they don't trade frequently. So I would say, honestly, of the shopping centers that made it to the index card based on the nature of them, I would say a very high percentage of them are still owned by the same folks from 20 years ago. Like 70% high.
Got it. So what was your next step after? Oh, let me rewind. I've got a lot of questions. So when you were making these note cards, this was pre-internet.
Well, I was working, before I started in commercial real estate, I was actually working for a company called 24/7 Media, which was a .com at the time when that was a thing. And so I wouldn't say that this was pre-internet, but like the internet did not play a major role in commercial real estate, right? But it was a thing. It was pre-iPhone, obviously. It was pre lots of things, but the internet was around, but it wasn't used, by Gen Pop.
Got it. So after you were at the initial boutique brokerage, you went to CB?
Yeah, so I started to become well-known locally for my Starbucks and at the time Chipotle account. So I started the development and the rollout strategy for Chipotle, and the big companies started to take notice of what I was doing and pursued me. Now, at the time, I was a 1099 broker who just lost their mother to cancer and was completely just immersed in my craft because I didn't want to slow down enough to actually think about how much that sucked. And my dad got remarried and moved to Florida, basically like a few months after my mom passed. He was having a tough time coping with obviously the loss of his wife. And so it's interesting, through that kind of 5-year stretch at the more boutique retail firm, I looked at that as like grad school for me, where, I grew up in an automobile family. And when my mom passed, I ultimately told my dad kind of in short notice that I wasn't going to go into the family business, wanted to kind of, create my own path and see what the world has in store for me. I didn't think it was, I was always very self-conscious growing up in a car dealership, where every person at the dealership would be like, "Hey, boss's son, you're my boss," like that type of stuff. So I kind of, it just wasn't for me. And it might have been if obviously my mom didn't pass and the nature of my family didn't change so drastically overnight. Yeah. So, the interesting part at the time was, again, 1099 broker, no health insurance, traveling like the country, snowboarding, no helmet on, being an absolute lunatic, partying my ass off, and DJing and doing everything that I was doing at the time. I ultimately realized that it was, time for me to probably go somewhere that had more structure and enabled me to expand my horizons, network, craft, learn more sides of the commercial real estate field, including industrial, office, and step outside of, solely that retail component. So I met with Allison Lewis at the time, who was recruiting for CBRE. And we met over several months, several times, and she finally presented me with a piece of paper, and it had a signing bonus, 6-figure signing bonus, with a pretty large monthly expense account, which was something new to me. And they would pay for my car, and I'd have health insurance for the first time. So this was like a no-brainer, So the funny part is, I actually look at the piece of paper and I'm in shock of how much money they're about to write me a check for. And I said, "You know what? If you double it, I'll consider it." And she looked at me like, "You're kidding, right?" I said, "No, I'm actually not kidding. I'm very serious. I have a great thing going and I have great accounts. Why would I leave?" So she goes, "Well, if you're serious, I have to set up a meeting for you with Marianne Ty, the president of CB Richard Ellis." I said, "I'm available. Let me know when she's available."
Amazing. So how did that go? And how did that transpire?
So she set up a meeting for me.
So you went into CB.
Yes, the long story short, Marianne and I set up 15 minutes for me to meet with her. I told her my story. She said, "I'd like to offer you the position and what you requested." I said, "That's amazing, Marianne. I really appreciate that. Can I have some time to think about it? Because now it just got real." So she said, "Absolutely." I ended up accepting that and went to CB in January of 2007.
So tell me about your time at CB and when you realized it might not be the best fit for you, and why.
Yeah, so I showed up at CB with my tie on straight and my suit really, really fitting nicely. And I walked in and realized day one it wasn't for me. And having said that, it wasn't because it wasn't a great company and it wasn't a great place to learn and do exactly what I wanted to do, which was understand the best practices of a boutique firm and the best practices of a corporate giant, marry the two and create my own company eventually, which obviously ended up happening, and it's called Sabre. So, I say that a little bit facetiously, where like it wasn't day one, but I really started to realize in a short amount of time that CB is primarily an office brokerage company. Retail, even New York City retail, is the pimple on the ass of a giant. And you're just a number there. And I've always felt like, I bring more to the table than, just being a number. And being at a place so big, even if you're doing really well, you don't really stand out that much, right? You have to really put in your time and so on and so forth. But more importantly, there was so much red tape that I just couldn't deal with. Meaning, if I was able to get a new exclusive on a property, and I had to get an agreement executed for the exclusive, it was more difficult in some cases than actually completing a lease. So for me, that was a major red flag for me. And then, the mapping and GIS was done out of Arizona. I was in New York. The communication was not great. And last and not definitely not least, enabled, for me to put a sign up. I'm like, I run fast. Like, I move quick. It's what I do. If I have an opportunity to bring on new business, it's got to be done immediately, or somebody else is going to take it from me. And that's just how I roll. Just to get a sign up, it was like a several week process, like filling out paperwork. And, I just, it wasn't conducive to what I need to do to be successful myself.
My old man always says real estate is like fresh bread. You got to get it while it's hot, or there's just no point to even get it.
I love that. And he's so right. And it's amazing to me that, a company like CB can be so successful and, operate that way.
It's a tribute to branding and something I look up to them for, and hope to grow myself. But I can't handle that either. I can't have somebody standing in my way to get something done on my team. So
yeah.
So
when,
when did you start Sabre, and why?
So I was thinking about my next chapter and, where I was going to go, and all the usual suspects and not so usual suspects at that point were offering me 7-figure checks to come onto their teams. And it was something that I felt like, my journey is not about the money. I like nice things, and I like having the benefit of hard work for sure. I want my children to, grow up a certain way, which is why I work hard. But success to me is not directly correlated with dollars. It's way bigger than that, right? So I started to talk to companies about potentially joining them, and then realized at a certain point that there was no place that I felt would suit me properly, and that I would show up, maybe if not like the first day I started, a year from then, 2 years, 3, whatever, there would come a point where I would feel like I had to continue being an imposter, and not show up with bleached white hair and somebody saying like, "Oh, here comes Jay with the," you know what I mean? So I felt like, commercial real estate was so much more traditional than I anticipated it would be when I started in the industry. And I started to realize that if I felt the way that I did, there had to be other people that felt that way. So I took a risk and went back to actually my previous employer before CB, where I started in the business. And I asked them if they'd be interested in dissolving their brokerage company and joining with me to start Sabre. The short answer was no. There's no need for us to do that. We're in the industry for like 50 some odd years, family business, and everything's going famously. We don't really need to do that. I said, okay, and don't take this as a threat, but I currently represent more tenants than your whole company. So if I do something on my own, I'm probably going to have an impact on you. And if it's Jayson Siano himself and not the big bad company that doesn't give a shit about Jayson Siano, I'm gonna go at it as hard as I possibly can. If I've been giving it 100%, the next chapter is 250%, right? So I ended up getting a call back from my now business partner and close friend and mentor previously, and he's like, let's continue the discussion, and we ended up partnering, and Sabre stands for my last name and his last name, real estate. So Siano and Breslin Real Estate.
Love it.
Yes. So that conversation happened, by the way, end of 2010, and we started February 4th of 2011, and last week or 2 weeks ago was our 10-year anniversary.
Hey, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And we got some fly merch that we got to show you.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it all over the internet, but this is the 10-year anniversary jump off.
Love it.
Yeah, so we'll get you
Love
one.
it.
This is the old school, hoodie. This is not available.
I love it. I too struggle with the suit and tie aspect of commercial real estate. So
You
glad-
don't say. I would never know by your TikTok.
Yeah. Woo. So okay. Big question.
Yeah.
When was your aha moment that there was something? There is clearly a lapse in our industry in the marketing age. I think about it all the time. My mind is consistently blown by how archaic our industry is in terms of integrating digital media. When was your aha moment, or what can you tell me about how that happened for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually like, my first aha moment was I was actually at CBRE receiving an award in 2000, and I think it was right before I ended up leaving. So it was 2009, 2010, and I was receiving an award for the rollouts. Oh no, yeah, it was during the downturn, right, of '08. So, and I had done a ridiculous amount of massage envy deals in my market during the downturn, and I was getting an award for the rollout for that concept at some commercial real estate event. And somebody was talking about at that event how the internet was not going to have an impact on commercial real estate, and that and having the background in online advertising and being a trend spotter and somebody who's really just into consumer behavior and other things that help me kind of keep my finger on the pulse, in the nightclub industry and the restaurant scene and all that fun stuff. Like, I heard that and I was like, something's really off here, and that was legit my aha moment, where I was like, wow, like, this is scary. And from there, I had a shitty year in 2016 was like a pivotal kind of year for me and for Sabre as a company. And I wanted to just shake something up. I wanted to shake it up, and I really got heavy into just digital marketing and becoming heavily focused back on it. I was dusting off my old skill set from online advertising, and I started to just personally get more involved in social media and whatnot. And then Gary V definitely was the inspiration for me to start a vlog. And I had several conversations with Gary, and then actually a year after I started my vlog, Ryan Serhant and I kind of started to vibe on this whole traditional, brokerage model concept and whatnot. And I think that I knew I was onto something when everybody was making fun of me for walking around with somebody filming me and putting out video content because I was in real estate.
Right. It's just so ass backwards, which is like the funny thing. But
I mean, you know what? But I get it. Like, Aviva, the reality is the majority of people are very afraid of other people's opinions, and they live their life in a very vanilla way so they can keep themselves kind of feeling good that other people are not, talking negatively or or in a way that obviously would make somebody who's not necessarily secure with themselves, feel badly and whatnot. And fortunately for me, I was kind of, my parents did a great job, and I never lacked for self-esteem or self-awareness. And I, as a result of that, even when I was getting all of the confused feedback from people and the haters, the people who are just like, you're weird. And, I could always go back to the fact that I was a better broker than them. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't like I'm just this person who's trying to like act cool on camera to create some sort of smoke screen that I'm better than I am at my actual craft that pays my bills. I'm really good at what I do, and anybody in the industry knows that. So
Right.
I was 15 years in the game with a proven track record, 5 years of starting my own company that turned into a relatively dominant national advisory firm. Anybody could say that I suck, I'm ugly, I'm terrible, but they can't say I'm not good at real estate brokerage.
Right.
So
I love it. Hey, I look up to you and I'm jealous because you did get to have that experience before. You've been to the suit and tie shops, and you sat in the shopping centers where you couldn't pull out your iPhone and pull up CoStar and find out the owner immediately. But personally, I haven't had that experience because I've been in the business as long as I have had an iPhone, and but I meet there's very, very, very few brokers I meet who are like you, where they were accepting to integrate the reality of the digital age into our business. And so my question for you, and you might have touched on this before, but why do you think our industry is so hesitant to move forward? I was talking to a broker who said, on my TikToks, on my Instagrams, my brokerage won't let me post the logo. And I'm like,
I mean, Kyle, I call him Digital Kyle, obviously, who's with me, right? So, another perfect example. This is not about picking on CB. It just happens that I was at CB, Kyle was at CB. And depending on what you do, like what your niche is, CB or Cushman or JLL or Newmark can be the absolute best place for you to do what you do. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different skill set, a niche, what makes them comfortable. Some people want to golf all day, every day. That's amazing. Like, I'm not saying everybody needs to be like me at all. I just want to be me. So, Kyle was being told the same thing, that he couldn't post on social, and he was getting called into the principal's office all the time. And, we would just laugh about it. And, it's crazy though, because it's like started like, as a result of everything that I've been doing, like my video of asking Gary Vee and Ryan Serhant how I get more people at my company in 2017, how I get more. I was a year into vlogging. I'm with Gary and Ryan. It's on Daily V, and I'm asking them a question. And I'm like, so how do I get more people at my company to use social media and create videos? And Gary's like, you don't. The ones that don't do it and don't get it are going to be fucking invisible. And little Ricky's going to come by and snap a photo of a building and sell it on Instagram. And all of a sudden, Mary's going to have her flip phone out and be like, how do I take a picture of this shit? Because everyone over time is going to realize how powerful this stuff is. This is just communication at scale. Like, that's what this is. This is information at scale. So anybody who doesn't understand what social media is now, like, needs to think about what email was in 1995, right? Like, were you hesitant to actually start emailing people because it was new and interesting in 1995? No, you were like, I could throw my fucking fax machine out finally. Or maybe not. Some people still fax, but whatever. You get it, right? It's like, I could send an email to somebody. They get it immediately. Yeah, and guess what? I could DM anybody right now, and based on my social profile, people are going to respond to me because I represented many concepts and still represent many concepts. And if I reach out to somebody, I'm getting past the gatekeeper. I'm going to typically a decision maker. Do you want to still show up at their door with a flyer and hand it to a manager that dumps it in the garbage? That's fine, do you. But I'm gonna do
Right.
me, and it's working pretty damn well.
So how did you get leads? I know this is a very vague, but it's a very vague question, but I'm just dying to know because I don't know a lot of people like you.
Because
How
they
did
don't
you get?
exist, Aviva. Like,
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
that's the, but it's also because, I like to, I think that I'm an early adopter of things. And by the way, as younger people come into the industry, I'm no longer alone. Like, you're doing this, and it's why we're chopping it up right now, right? Like, I might be an older person who was an early adopter to a lot of this stuff years ago, but that's afforded me the opportunity to actually be somebody that inspires the younger people to understand you don't have to act a certain way to be successful in this industry. That's my mission day in and day out. And for the misfits who don't belong, call me, because this is a movement about being able to be yourself. And guys, you work for yourself. You don't work for the company that holds your license. And every brokerage company who approaches it the traditional way moving forward is slowly going out of business, because every real estate broker on the planet works for themselves, and they can or cannot promote your company as much or as little as they want to. And I don't need to tell people to promote Sabre, because they're proud to wear a t-shirt from Sabre, even if they work at a different company, because we're a fucking vibe. Like, that's it. I operate in the best interest of other humans because I want them to win, regardless of where they work. And it's not tough to figure out how to win in life, but it's a shame that most people just truly don't get it. And they're out for themselves, and they want to keep the young and experienced person down. They want them to do all the grunt work and give them 5% of a deal. That shit don't work. I was that guy, and I built a company that does not operate that way because it's fucking wrong.
I couldn't agree more. It's really, that has been my friction in this industry. And, you know, something I struggled with was like networking in the industry, pre-COVID. There was nobody in my city like me. I'm pulling out my phone to make a TikTok in a warehouse, and young brokers are laughing at me. Like, and it's like, so I always struggled having a
Has that
community.
changed at all? Like, are people now more accepting of you doing it? Or is it like, here comes Aviva, the TikTok chick?
A little bit of everything. The older cats really don't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm
I mean,
gonna say
the reality is, though, and this is, listen, I'm for helping everybody in the industry, meaning the older cats need to realize that if they don't start doing the stuff that, listen, we would not be in the position that we are today, okay, if the pandemic didn't happen.
right.
I tell everybody on my team, everybody that knows me, that it would have taken another, honestly, 7 to 10 years to be where we are today because of what happened with COVID. Okay. And that doesn't just go for using technology, social media, video to be a better broker. That goes for all of the other outdated, tired concepts that are slowly going out of business, right? That was basically rearranging the deck chair on the Titanic. It was delaying the inevitable, right? I mean, that's what it was. It's not like, I'm not about like the slow evolution of what's going to happen over the next 20 years in retail real estate. Everybody's talking about like retail is dead. Oh my God, this is like, I can't believe how decimated everything's getting. Guys, the companies that were in bad condition pre-pandemic are, again, it's being expedited. The same way that the internet is eliminating the middle, right? People have to be careful about how they use social media, because there's a lot of people that are faking the funk out there. Like, either you're really good at what you do and you're actually promoting that and trying to help other people and using it for good, or you're a snake oil salesman, and that's going to be found out real quickly, right? And there's kind of, there's I'm saying that the older generation needs to start to pay attention to the fact that in this kind of new world, in the digital era, the doing things the same way that you did it in 1997 might have worked without the pandemic for the next 10, 15 years. But I can guarantee you in the next 2-3 years, if you don't start to realize how important these things are in your business, you're going to not have the same success that you had previously. And that goes for, it's leveling the playing field. I love this shit. Like, this is literally leveling the playing field. Young people have more opportunity than ever because they understand how to use this thing.
Yeah.
The older people who are really good at what they do, if they don't start using this thing on some level, they're just going to be invisible.
I know. I couldn't agree more about leveling the playing field and about how COVID has just pushed this. We've been saying COVID is pushing everything in the industry 10 years forward like a rolling steam train, and there's no going back, and there's no looking back. We can look back at trends and try to use them to apply them to figure out future changes, but we are living in 2021, and it's time to get with the program or understand that you're a dinosaur.
Listen, here's the thing. I want everybody to get with the program because I don't want to hire every talented person who creates content in commercial real estate at Sabre, which is inevitable at this point in the event these other companies don't start to realize, oh shit, maybe instead of reprimanding you for creating amazing content, I should fucking pay you. Seriously.
Oh yeah. Hey, my family's company that I came into, they were reluctant to hire me, but there was no website, there was no brand, there was no social anything. And it was like, I walked in and I was like, this is like, you have a website? How do people know we exist? And my old man is like, well, I did it all without it. And he has really come around because he's seeing what we can do with the power of the internet. We roll around in industrial, and industrial, it's a generally, this is a older male demographic, and these guys are like some of the last people who are not as integrated into the internet as the rest of us. And I'm even finding that their kids are the people who are looking us up on Google and finding us, or seeing me on TikTok or Instagram and contacting us. And man, I would have no idea how to do it any other way besides like cold calling or door knocking. So
I think what I'm seeing that as well, right? And again, just for somebody who plans to be in this industry for a very long time, just the sheer value of being able to be relevant to the younger generations that are clearly, on their way into this industry. That's so powerful. Like, your dad was able to be successful without a website for a very long time, like other people. That's by the way, not everybody needs to use social media to be very successful moving forward. I'm generalizing, right? That's a reality. You could own a sick portfolio and be off the grid entirely and do just fine. You're going to do better than I will ever do in my lifetime. That's amazing. So it's not, I'm a little facetious, but I'm trying to, again, just make it clear how important these tools are for a lot of people who are not necessarily in that position where they don't, have this existing vast portfolio that they could,
right,
just rely on leasing, et cetera, et cetera. But clearly with a website, you're still going to be in better shape and have more visibility on your product than you would otherwise. And Instagram has become kind of your digital resume. It's the first thing that people do when they discover Sabre or myself. They end up on my social media platform, and they're judging you whether you like it or not. if my Instagram was a bunch of photos with me with cats and dogs and whatever the hell it is, it's not. But if it was, that would be their opinion of Jay Siano, the CEO of Sabre Real Estate, right? So I'm going to actually create the opinion that they should have of me, or paint a real picture of who I am at home with my family, at work with my team, like my hobbies, whatever, like it's me. So don't you want people to get to know you when they end up on your social media? Which is why I never understand why people would separate their Instagram into, this is my Instagram for my photography, this is my Instagram for my commercial real estate, this is my Instagram for my knitting hobby. Like, no, that's you. Aviva is one human, and you should have everything in that Instagram so I can actually learn something about you when I go there.
Right. Well, I think a lot of that, we touched on it before, is like not accepting yourself or fully loving yourself and being maybe embarrassed about your knitting in your professional, and that whole rodeo of self-consciousness that just doesn't help anybody. So, and it's funny you say that, because that's exactly how I found, that's exactly how we met, was through Instagram. And I met Kyle on TikTok.
Yeah.
What a cool, I'm so glad I'm just loving meeting people in my community with similar mindsets, because we're few and far between. And I do want to help people. I do find there is a need. I just have to tell you this. My mind is blown at how little information there is on the internet regarding commercial real estate. It's like, and I promote warehouses have been my family business for the last 3 generations. And I could talk all day about how amazing warehouses are. You wouldn't believe how little information there is on the internet about warehouses. It completely blows my mind, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but there's no information about it on the internet for people to learn. And so I feel so privileged to get the opportunity to level the playing field for somebody who their dad and their grandfather weren't kicking tires at warehouses like me, because that's just privilege. These are people who might be interested in this because their old man wasn't pushing it their whole life. Not to say, I am very passionate, I'm very lucky, I'm passionate, but it is so cool to level the playing field. And I feel like we're just at the beginning of teaching people this incredible industry that we've been so lucky to learn and fall in love with, but people don't even know it exists.
I didn't know, I always say that, like, I kind of happened upon, what I do. Like I say retail real estate chose me. Like that's what I say to people, I did not really even understand that, like, a human being owned a shopping center. Like that concept alone is so foreign. It's like, it's so strange. And, how you're actually trying to, get different tenants into your properties and the negotiation process. I mean, it still fascinates me. I feel truly blessed that I discovered this at such a transitional time in my life and was able to go all in and have been in the business at a relatively young age, as long as I have, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, because ultimately, I lived through 2008 when a lot of the younger generation was forced out of the business because, in a downturn that happens, it's inevitable. And on the retail side, especially now, there's just going to be far less tenants that are actively expanding, for sure. And the nature of what a retail tenant, has changed to medical and cannabis and service and fitness and all this other stuff. And you're going to have to really differentiate yourself in order to be successful in this industry. And I find it so interesting that I'm one of the few people that is actually rooting for other people to be successful instead of worrying about how much money I'm making. And that's what I think is so kind of frustrating in the industry for me. I feel like everybody's so selfish. I feel like people are really only truly out for themselves. And that's, why I like helping younger people, get into the business and mentor them in ways where I'm able to, have a positive impact on them, because it's tough. It's not an easy business. It's very tough, and it's tough in a good time. It's even tougher in a bad time.
I think the reality of that, I do agree with you, but the reality is that you can smell it. I can smell it off you across the country that you want, this is good nature for the good of the people, to build your family and to teach people. And, we come across assholes all day, every day, and you can smell them a mile away. They smell like rotten fish. And the self-serving brokers, and, this is it's a wild industry, because you can get those big checks and you do deal with people, big portfolios and big business. And as a result, you can find some big assholes, but there are gems. And I have found, like, the people that I really find to be good people, you hold them so much closer and you have so much more respect for them and trust. Like, there's only a couple brokers in town I will call with, like, a question that, like, I trust them with.
Yeah.
And that's sad, because I deal with a lot more than a couple brokers in town.
Yeah.
But that's just the reality of our business. And so it's a wild, so what you're experiencing, and I know you know this, but across the country, I feel the same way. So
yeah, I mean, listen, I have the good fortune of working the entire country, and since I focus specifically on the retail space and have some preferences with what I personally work on, it's amazing though, because negativity travels way faster than positivity, right? Which is why I feel like I have to, like, spread positivity as much as I possibly can. But it also, as a result of the traditional nature of the industry, the fact that there are a lot of assholes, the like-minded people find each other and stick together and truly want to add value. And I've found that outside of the real estate industry with social media as well, right? I think that, I've been able to kind of grow using the social media platforms and video, because I've befriended a lot of influencers that have nothing to do with real estate. And I get inspired by people, outside of our industry, and adopt things that they're doing and pull them into our industry. And, I started vlogging a year before Ryan Serhant. So when I asked him that question, my vlog was a year old. I started in January of 2016. I asked him the question in January of 2017. It was the same week he was launching his vlog. And, at that point, he didn't really understand, like, the power of what vlogging or, doing that type of stuff can do. He was more obviously focused on television and the real thing up until that point. And, he's changed the game on the residential side. And residential is so far ahead of commercial and super innovative, from a marketing and digital marketing standpoint. And there's just so many more people in residential real estate than commercial. So, I feel blessed to be able to, have, an impact on the community. And truly, I come off sometimes a little abrasive, and it's just truly my passion for, yeah, exactly. But it's truly it's my passion for, like, trying to wake up this industry. Like, I really truly want other people to get it. And it's nice when people do, but it's not very commonplace to find.
okay, I think that you and I should do something like this once every quarter or half a year,
Sure.
and talk about the newest trends that we're, I don't have any secrets. I don't keep secrets from people, but I think it would be fun if we hopped on something like this and really dove into, like, the newest things we're finding, because you're digging and I'm digging, and I love finding new things and talking about it. So
Yeah, listen, I would love to. And I think that, it's what you're doing is so entertaining and so awesome. And I truly wanted to meet you and just get to know you better because of that like digital thing that you're doing. And I really enjoy meeting people that are like-minded and, kind of going against the grain, because people who don't do what we do think it's egotistical when it's actually quite the opposite, because it's an uncomfortable position to put yourself in. But I like actually seeking out the discomfort to grow as a person and grow in business, and that's what I do. So I just wanted to give you respect for what you're doing.
Thank you. Honestly, I feel like you have injected so much value just in this podcast alone. Aside from your social presence, I want to thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I think this is going to be a really, really good listen for anybody who wants to learn about commercial real estate and marketing in general in life. But I have one more question for you, and then we have a speed round.
Let's go.
Okay, so my final question is, you get a young gun coming into your office, we'll say 24, we'll say you sits down in your office tomorrow. What are three pieces of advice you're going to tell him or her that they should do to get leads and succeed in commercial real estate?
Well, first and foremost, depending again on what they're looking to, I'll start by saying everybody that I meet, whether it's somebody that's looking to work with me to get into the industry, a client, I start with everybody's goals in mind and reverse engineer everything. So I would want to know as much as possible about that individual and what they think they'd like to do. Right. But let's assume for a second that it's retail real estate and, they're obviously sitting with me, and that's what we focus on. So I would tell them that first and foremost, they need to study and learn. Let me start over. I would tell them that they need to be prepared to work their asses off for 18 months without making a dime. That's one. If they look at you strange when you say that, I would then go on to number two. If you're not in a position to do that, you do not want to take a draw, because it's as bad as student debt. I've been there. I try to keep people out of harm's way solely so they're not desperate. The minute that desperation seeks in, brokers are trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and that's bad business. I don't mess with that. Number three, if you want to be really, really good at this business, you have to line up yourself with people who are already doing what you want to be good at. So if you decide you want to be the best tenant rep broker in a certain market, go work for that person, add value to that person, and that person will embrace you, and you'll learn more in 1 year that you will otherwise in 5.
Love it. Love it. So, you ready for the speed round?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm just going to ask you a quick question. Just give me the first thing that comes to mind. Ready?
Ready.
Talking or texting?
Texting.
Favorite day of the week?
Monday.
Favorite city in the United States besides the one you live in?
Shoot. I would have to say I'm going to go with Tucson, Arizona, because I went to college at the University of Arizona, and I left a piece of my heart there, and I absolutely love Arizona.
Love it. Nickname your parents used to call you?
JJ.
How long does it take you to get ready?
30 seconds.
That's awesome. Scale of 1 to 10. How good of a driver are you?
11.
First celebrity crush?
Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Okay. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
I honestly, I have to say the 90s, while my mom was still around.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God, beautiful.
Sorry to make that one an emotional one, but it's a no-brainer.
No, that's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Place you want to travel the most?
Man, there's so many, and since we're so restricted, it like clouds my brain on answering that question. But I would love, I'm a huge animal, ocean. I wanted to be a marine biologist as a kid. So I would probably say Africa or Australia to swim with great whites.
Amazing. Last Halloween costume pre-COVID.
Last Halloween costume pre-COVID. I haven't dressed up. I mean, I dress up with my kids all the time for Halloween, but I just take a mask and, so on and so forth. But it's funny, I'll say it because my wife posted it on Valentine's Day. The last Halloween that we got dressed up, and it wasn't like for the kids type thing, she was Britney Spears and I was Kevin Federline.
Okay.
And I could text you that photo because she just happened to tag me in it on Valentine's Day.
I love it. And then the last, Taylor Swift is
insanely talented.
awesome. So I'm going to hit you real quick on my story.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on the Party on the Profits podcast.
We didn't talk much about partying, so we're going to have to do this again.
We definitely are going to have to do this again, but anyway, you brought so much value, seriously, and it's a pleasure to finally meet you. So thank you for spending the past hour with us, and I am going to take you up on doing this again.
Let's do it. I mean, I absolutely love what you do, and I think that you're just a dope human, and I saw that through the social platforms, and I was excited to connect with you as a result of that. And honestly, it's like, if that's all this ever is and we never make a real estate deal together, I know that we could add value to each other's lives, and that's what I'm in this for. So everybody asks the question, what's the ROI of using social media? And I think the ROI is meeting dope people.
I could not agree more that it is totally priceless, and I wouldn't change that for the world. So
amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jay.
'Cause this is Digital Discussions.